what you think about coming through, imparting some wisdom. I don't want to keep this all to myself. What's about coming through and pouring into to my family? And he is family now. So y'all help me bring to the stage Dr. Curt. Stand to your feet. Stand to your feet. So cool. So I know we chatted, and you were like, "What you want to do, man? You want to do like presentation style? You want to just kind of do fireside chat style? You like, let's just like fireside chat style." But before we get into that, I want to honor you publicly. I know I tell you a lot, but I want to honor you publicly, bro, because we've been working together how long?
Close to 2 months.
About 2 months, and I would just want to say, like, the work we've done in a short period of time, I'm grateful for you, and I always tell everybody about you and sing your praises because not only has it helped me become a better businessman, leader, but also a husband, father, just as a whole, man. So I appreciate you and honor you for that, man. All that you do, bro. We just really get warmed up.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks
For
for having me.
For sure.
Thanks
So,
for that.
for sure. Tell everybody who you are in your own words. I introduced you. Tell everybody who you are in your own words.
So I'm on a journey to healing, as we all are, right? As a result of my healing journey about 10 years ago, and seeing a therapist, I decided to become one. And the light came on in therapy when my therapist says, you really want to help other people and simultaneously heal yourself, then become a therapist. And at the time, he was a white middle-aged guy. He said he was retiring. And for 30 years, he'd been speaking to mostly black men, with no success. I'm not sure if y'all know this, but people who go to therapy, there's a high percentage of people who absolutely make no significant changes, right? For a number of reasons, right? For a number of reasons. For us, people who look like me, who look like y'all, the traditional mental health, wellness, industrial complex is not complex enough, right? It's not appropriate for us. And so for me, I was going through a tough time. So, and at the time I was an entrepreneur, real estate was going really well. Then when the bottom fell out of real estate, the bottom fell out of every area of my life, no exceptions. And that included my marriage, obviously my finances. I had just moved my mom down here from Chicago in 2005, and I ended up burying her here in 2010. And at the time my mother was diagnosed and dying from cancer, that's when the divorce came. In the real estate, right? And so I couldn't handle it, right? But I pushed through, and at the time I had a few pesos at the bank, so I did what people who are troubled with a few pesos at the bank do. We numb it out to the detriment, right? And I tried that, but as you know, it didn't work. Subsequently, I found out that I'd had a grown adult daughter that I didn't know about. I went to my 20th high school reunion, ran into a sister. She was like, hey, by the way, this is all in the same thing, right? She was 21 by that time, which means that I had conceived a child before I even turned 17, right? That I didn't know about, right? So the good thing, before my mother died, I went, did the DNA. I showed my mother the picture of the mother. And I never forget, my mother's like, so you just didn't use those condoms? I was like, yeah, you're back there. Apparently not. Yeah. So I showed the picture of the daughter, of my alleged daughter at the time. I was like, oh, my mother was like, she's beautiful. And I was like, Mom, what you think? Like, the lady, this chick said it was my baby. And my mother gave me my phone back. And I was like, what you think? She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, what do you think about the paper? My mother looked me in my face, almost dying from cancer. Was like, well, you know that's your daughter. And at the time, that was another way. Like, it was obviously, you know, I missed out on all this. All the time, there was guilt and shame and everything to go with that. My marriage crumbled, right? I tried marriage again, that crumbled. This is all on my road to recovery. I went to 5 different therapists. The 5th one, which is the gentleman I started off telling you, was a white man. And he told me, don't come back to me, right? right? You can find a therapist, but I'm not your guy. The previous four were Black therapists, and they gave me the textbook. You know, they were psychologists and therapists. They laid it on, they asked me about my mom and my daddy, all of the stuff, right? They do with therapy. So I was pissed off, and at the time I had started a doctoral program. And part of my healing journey was to jump back in. I had absolutely nothing. I was sleeping on one of my own boys' couch in this basement. I was flat out. I was suicidal. I was like, I'm done, right? Marriage gone, dignity gone. I had to borrow money from all my friends, my family. They told me I was losing it, right? I was that dude. They went back and said I was an imposter for all of the success I had for 20 years. So you follow me? For 20 years. So I came out of therapy, healing myself, teaching Black men how to heal themselves with the help, because healing is through connection, right? We damage the relationship, we gotta heal the relationship. So healing is through connection, right? It's a journey. It's an ongoing, lifelong journey to recovery. So I'm on that journey. I work with Black men, those who raise Black men, those who love Black men, those who are struggling in relationship with Black men, and those who are trying to get a Black man. Right? And so that's a little bit of my story, right? And I spend most of my days working with highly functional people who have a bunch of blind spots. They're doing very well in certain areas, but they feel like they're imposters in other areas, right? Which we all do, and we're gonna talk about that, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I spend my time working with people, working with Black mothers, raising Black boys, working with couples, shining light on some of their dark areas, right? And I do it in a way that I'm grateful, because I actually get to share a space with people because I actually been there, right? I actually been, let me correct that. I'm there, right? In a lot of different areas, further along on the journey, but I'm there. And so I'm fortunate enough to align myself with organizations. I know a lot of y'all from Facebook just online. So I'm grateful to be in integrity, as Dre mentioned, right? To be in a space where it is what it is now, right? And unashamedly, I've been through some stuff where I could not use this. There was no ambition, there was no degrees, there was no nothing. I was inadequate for the emotional part of my life. And I know a lot of high functioning people who make a lot of money. They miss that, right? They miss that. I work with people who money is not a care. They still miss that. They feel like an imposter in other areas of their life. But it's relationship, parenthood, they could be successful in the business and still feel like an imposter. So that's a little bit of my story. Nothing special about me besides me walking, fortunate enough, grateful enough to walk the journey with you as you're healing. And keep in mind, all of us are healing from something. There are absolutely no exceptions to that.
For sure, for sure. So, because I know we had one thing that we pinned and we definitely want to dive into. You want to start with going there, or some questions for me? You already got something that you want to dive into first, or how you want to do it?
You, brother.
Okay, bet. So I'll start with the one question I had kind of loaded in the cannon.
Okay.
Right, and then we'll go into, we just kind of organically grow, and then we'll get questions, and we just make this conversation. I think that'd be way cool. So my first question, so our last session, we talked about imposter syndrome. And I know entrepreneurs deal with imposter syndrome in a big way, even when they have accomplished a lot and extremely successful, right? So they deal with that. And what I didn't know until our last session is like, there's 4 levels, was it 4 or 5? 5 levels of imposter syndrome. So let's talk about the imposter syndrome, why people deal with it, how to overcome it, maybe some strategies that they can actually implement.
Right. So imposter syndrome is a feeling or a belief that you are inadequate, right? Or incompetent in spite of your success, right? People who have done nothing, achieved nothing, they're not imposters, right? They're not imposters. There are people who are actually, they have success. It's measurable, right? It's visible, but they still experience feelings, beliefs that lead to heavy emotions to try to convince them otherwise, right? So there's 5 different areas, but let me digress a little bit. I need you to consider what the phrase means in and of itself, because imposter actually means someone who is fraudulently presenting themselves for the purpose of deception. So when you feel imposter, that's way past you, right? You follow me? So I spent a lot of time questioning people's choice of words they use for themselves, right? Because we hear the words, the phrase imposter syndrome, but it actually is not. Because we don't even, we kind of believe, we don't believe, we know we're entrepreneurs. It's the feeling part that we struggle with, right? And so syndrome simply means a group of symptoms, right? So you got to kind of confront some of these phrases that keep you locked into these old narratives. Will the feelings come? Yeah, they will come. They are supposed to come. But here's the best thing about the moments you feel like an imposter. That is the very moment to suggest that you, in that moment, are not present. No more, no less. You either in your past on your entrepreneurial journey, or you wail in your future. And if you go to any one of them, it'll scare you, right? And then you will label that as imposter syndrome. So the next time you are questioning, I want you to provide right in that moment. I want you to be like, oh, I know what that is. That means I'm not currently present. And because I'm not currently present, I got one or two ways to go. In the past, I already know what that is. And in the future, if you go, most people, if they go further than 30 days, it scares them, right? And so question that. That's all it is. And there's 5 areas, right? There's the, Dre mentioned it, there's the perfectionist, right? There's the Superman or Superwoman, right? There's the genius, there's the expert, and there is the, one more. So let's go through those, right? They show up for different ways. Now, here's the good thing, right? You can be dope, killing them in entrepreneurship. That's not your imposter syndrome headache, right? It's your marriage or your parenthood, right? Or your sonhood or your daughterhood, whatever it may be. It shows up. I have highly functional people who struggle in other areas. They killing it in their chosen field. The imposter syndrome gets them. All of us struggle with imposter syndrome. It's part of the lived experience, right? I'm good with the entrepreneur, right? I've been doing this 20-something years. I struggle with fatherhood. I struggle with failure. Man, you follow me? Like, we still have our work. I just throw it on the journey of recovery. So the areas come up, right? And it's important to know the areas, not to really dissect, but to really know. Like, you hear people like perfectionists, right? And most people think that perfectionist refers to people like, I gotta get it right. I hear people every day, you know, I'm a perfectionist, right? They think it means I need to get it right. It actually means I'm gonna continue raising the bar to unattainable goals, because way back in my past, I was called ill-prepared. And I can't have that no more. Right? You see how that works? Right? See, everything that you're doing now has mostly been developed out of a sense of failure, right? Because we are not always present enough for our success. We race through them. You make 10, you need 20 without taking time to be present. You hijack your entire nervous system. That always gets you in the, bite you in the butt. That always. So those are some of the areas, right?
All right, so let's dig deeper, man. So that's the one I want to kind of kick it off.
Okay.
So I'm gonna just be, so all right, so you mentioned presence. What are some, because I know that's one of the first things we dove into is like being present. Like, what are some strategies to get like present when you're kind of going down one of those downward spirals or something like that?
Right, so presence is, the mere fact that we're here presently is because we have breath, right? So breath is the work, right? You think it's the grind in the bag, it's the breath work. It's the breath work. It's the only reason that you're here, because you still have, guess what, in you? Breath. So turn that into your work. And if you get in front of it and practice it, it will serve you very, very well. For example, anytime that you think that you're not breathing intentionally, obviously we're breathing, but intentionally start. You're gonna need it when life punches you in the mouth. You gotta reset your nervous system, your whole physiology. And the best way is to breathe, right? I heard somebody say, before they lift it, before I lift my head off the pillow, I do 5 sets of 10 deep breaths. Period. Just get it flowing, right? I don't even move yet. Just get it flowing. 10 deep breaths. And I could literally feel myself calm. I just need to be present. And if I'm not, guess what? I got 5 more. So the best way to practice being present is to focus on your breath work, right? It'll immediately set a sign between your mind and your heart to say, oh, they in control. They got it. Otherwise, your mind is going to take over, or your heart gonna get all feeling and take over, right? Anybody have panic attack before? Anxiety attack? Some of us have been high strung our whole life. We have not even realized that we one big anxiety attack walking. Whoa. Forever. Wake up in the morning high strung. That's what you know. So sometimes it's chasing the bag, and other times it's running from yourself. We're gonna talk about that.
All right, I told Dr. Curt heavy, man. So let's get into it, man. So what you already? I want to get into like what you got for the people, man. I don't want to like I don't want to get greedy with you,
You know, I like to Q&A. Me, you talk like this every week.
Absolutely.
Right? I weave my stuff in our conversation. I always tell her, right? We had this conversation, be men talk. I weave my stuff into our talk. But I like to offer you a new way of looking at wealth, right? And I want you to put an H in it. So I want you to spell wealth, WHEALTH. Need to write that?
I go ahead, we're right for it. I got you.
Yes, thank you, sir.
So you said
WHEALTH. Right. So you can have all the wealth in the world. But if you don't heal and work on your health, you're gonna have to leave it to somebody. Amen. Sooner than you may have already planned to do so. Right? So the real wealth is your health and your healing. When you focus on your health and your healing, I promise you, you won't have to chase as hard as you chase. You won't. We spend a lot of internal emotional energy just trying to stay safe that you could be expending in your business by tweaking just a few daily things. Just a few daily things. But ain't no point in getting wealthy if you ain't healthy enough to enjoy it, right? And the healing journey is, we're all healing for something. There's no exceptions, right? You can come from the best home, the best family, you got the best marriage, right? You're still healing from something. We all are. But that's the good part, right? The good part. So it's not a matter of stressing out over the healed part. It's just a matter of filling in those gaps in your personal development when that trauma stunted your growth way back when. We all got a lot of those gaps, right? Which slows up the bag, which slows up the wealth journey. Whether you believe that or not.
Let me ask you this. You said on the one call, you was there basically, you was like somebody, and we're talking about me specifically, right? It was like you can actually you can be doing really well financially or whatever, but we're talking about financially, right, in business, but still be in scarcity. Right. So you're operating like in scarcity. So let's talk about it, like unpack that a little bit.
Right. So your results are there, right? You manage your craft, you got all your systems, but you have achieved some goals, right? Financial goals, but you still operate on the scarcity mindset, right? It's never enough. And if it is, you don't park there long enough to even say it's enough, right? Right, which is the scarcity, limited thinking mindset. Now that's from the conditioning. Most of us was passed on to that, right? We was passed on to that, right? You gotta work really, really hard. It's all about the mindsets. I tell people it ain't much to do. It's who you choosing to be, not day to day, moment to moment. right?
And that's what,
Can you say that last part again? Not who you choosing to be. Can you say that again?
Yeah, it's not what you do, it's who you choose to be. It's your beingness that most people struggle with, right? We can do, all right, we've been to school, we can talk, we learn, we take notes, right? We got our tools, we learn, we grasp concepts. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and they come to therapy thinking I'm a coach. I like to pin down. You gotta be with each other, right? Your healing is as a result of us being with each other. I'll weed mine in. Tell me what we're working on.
Yeah, that's what you told me on that. I got last chat. That was one of the things you was like, I need you to just be more. Like stop doing. Just be. That was huge. And then I posted this other day, I've been dropping some of your nuggets. I tell them to therapy. Like,
You paid for it, it's good.
Yeah, for sure. You was like, you can get the bag, but if you don't unleash your baggage or release your baggage, you will lose the bag.
Right.
And that kind of goes with the healing, right?
Correct. Yeah, most people chasing the bag, holding baggage. Right? Chasing the bag, holding baggage. Yeah, it's not. And if by chance you get to put that well baggage on top of your baggage, your nervous system is going to scare you. Because we don't find it make you more what you already are. So without fixing that, you get that bag on top of the baggage and somehow find a way to handle it. You're gonna numb out to the 10th degree in the areas that you choose to soothe you. Most of the time when you have more money as resources, you do it to a detriment. So we gotta release the baggage. Release the bag so you can carry the bag in a way that really serves you in all areas. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the nervous system 2 times. Can you talk about how the nervous system affects our decisions, like especially as we elevate and go up into other goals, whether they are attainable or unattainable? How does the nervous system affect that? Because you ain't keep mentioning it for nothing.
Good. So everything resides in the nervous system, right? This is really where it all matters. Right? And so because we all have been through trauma, during that trauma, we have been forced to hijack our nervous system for survival, right? For survival, which means our nervous system has now been designed to protect us, even when we don't want it to, right? Dre talked about things getting in your way. You have rehearsed this protection that is no longer needed. It's still in your way for one reason and one reason only. You practice it your whole life.
It's a habit.
As a result of your lived experience, but it's stored here, right? Most people think it's here. Y'all got this. I read less books today than I ever did. I'm an avid reader since 3rd grade. But because I know how to train my nervous system, I get to tap into my intuition. And ain't no woman thing.
No. Amen.
That's where the game changer is. It's the feeling. It's the feeling. You can feel your way into wealth. You're gonna have to do that anyway. At some point, we know people who got money and didn't feel it, but they felt comfortable without money. And what you do most is what you do best. So the nervous system is important. That's where the work is, right? And the work is you getting reacquainted with your nervous system. That's what confidence means, right? Confidence is a habit that you practice, right? Con meaning with, fidence meaning trust. See how I mean? So you don't have to have confidence for everybody else. You have to have confidence between you and you. That's where your confidence is. You have to trust yourself. Your nervous system is where it resides. This gonna hijack, right? It's gonna convince you of some things. Now this is cool, but this is for practical purposes. But this don't want to work hard. That's why when you get in your car, when you leave it, you don't want to work that hard. That's why some of the stuff too, who heavily rely on their intellect. They get stuck. They think that's it. They think that's it. It has its place for practical reasons, but this is where the game changes. This is where everything resides, right here, right? Everything resides in your nervous system. And so it has to be healed, right? Because you hijack it. Trauma means something happened through your experience and you were not conscious enough to deal with it. So your nervous system said, well, shit, we know what to do. We're gonna either fight, flight, flee, right? We're gonna thug it out. This is what we do. Most of us have used those survival things across the board, even with mine, which is back to your original point. So hopefully that helps you nervous system.
So let's stay on the nervous system, because we talked a lot about that as well, right?
Right.
So what are some strategies or some tool or a tool to like reset, if that's the best word to use, your nervous system?
Right. So the nervous system has to be shown, can be told, right? Right. Your mind can be told, you can speak the affirmations, but your nervous system has to be shown, right? So there's some things to do at this point. So your beingness is, I trust in my internal guidance system. I'll turn this on when I need it. That's my backup plan. If there's ever a conflict between this, you're gonna have a stress, anxiety, and you're gonna go to your normal coping mechanisms. But if you trust it, the nervous system, way back when, through some of your trauma, says, we gotta shut it down to make sure you're protected, right? But it didn't tell you which area to shut it down. So you use it as an extreme makeover, right? So one of the ways you can do is to check in with yourself. All of your feelings are here, right? They become emotions when you emote them by adding that narrative from guess where? Here. If you be with it here, it won't hang around longer than necessary. It has no point to unless you invite it in and welcome it to stay. Which is why your babies can get a spanking from you, take it down, wake back up, they good. Right? They always in reset, right? They hadn't gotten there right. Kids, they don't hold no grudges. They can be fighting on the playground kids. Well, back in the day, I don't know what some of your kids do now. Y'all get my point. Little kids, right? Because the nervous system hadn't been hijacked yet until we as parents import those hijacking things we was taught to do. So the breath work is key. It'll help that. Checking in with yourself. Our default emotion is anger. We know that, right? As people, particularly Black people. Our default emotion is anger. You wanna know why? A, we practice it, it's comfortable, and B, we don't like feeling bad. We get mad at feeling bad. Right? That'll piss you off, but you hijack what it really is. So you ain't angry, that's all the way down, right? You sad, you disappointed, you heartbroken, little guilt, little shame, little grief, grandma, right? Marriage, they fired you, right? You went to anger. That's your comfort level. You'll struggle building any business, cleaning up too many shit shows, letting anger be your hijack go-to. And I know we all know that in our personal lives, right? But it also applies in the business lives too, right? Because you'll get to that point where you'll see something that's gonna be uncomfortable. And because you feel it's an option, especially if it is, you won't actually go across that threshold when it comes to the wealth accumulation, right? Because you're like, nah, I can manage that, right? Let me be cool, right? I won't go there, because if I lose control on this, then what? I barely got this other shit going. Am I talking too much?
No.
We're going to the next question. We'll come back to that one.
So another thing we worked on, and I think is powerful, is like you mentioned it, like, and you probably already said it, but I want to just make sure I asked again. I asked just to clarify, which was huge for me, is like going from here to here. You last spent a lot of time here. How do you? What's kind of like going from here to here? Let's talk about like that.
Right. So there's a number of ways to do it, right?
And explain going from here to here, just so they don't know what I'm talking about.
Right. So dropping from your head literally into your heart, right? Getting out of the thinking game and spending a little time getting reacquainted with your feeling game. This is where all the genius resides. This is where all your relationships reside. This is where all your pain is reside. This is where everything resides, right? And so there's a skill by way of practice of dropping to in your heart area, which is also where your nervous system resides. And there's a number of ways. For me, I'll give you an example for myself, right? I've been through so much healing. I learned the skill of just front loading myself with breath work, front loading myself with checking in every hour. Like, how you doing, Curt? What's good? You good? Oh, I ain't mad. I gotta pee. You follow me? Like, I'm right? Look, some of y'all married to some folks, when they get hungry, they done. Don't give them something to eat before 6, right? So that causes. So there's a number of ways, but most of us have to really know ourselves well enough to do that, right? So if you do it in peacetime, you don't have to be in war with yourself. Check in. I'm driving here. How you doing? Real warm, man. They said it's gonna be rain. It's 85, right? Just check in. Strengthen the relationship between me and me. I gotta get reacquainted, right? Because I blamed it on y'all, the other human beings in my life that wasn't doing what I needed them to do. Right? So that's one way. So the one way is to really, really drop down and check in every few months. How I'm doing. And the ones that really feel good, milk them. Some of us have hijacked our bad feelings. We hijack the good ones, because when you numb one emotion, you numb them all. And if you got a fuse box, which I know you do, turn that main breaker off and you turn it back on. You gotta go turn on one fuse of everything. That's how your emotions work. Right? Otherwise, you're gonna hijack it. Because you're still in survival mode, right? So it may not be CAU. It's you. Issues, my father used to tell me, issues mean it's you. That's your issue. Right? So that's one of the practice, right? Spend time dropping here. Let this be your go-to. It'll be there. It'll drop down and get reacquainted with I breathe. Slow down, right? I'm from Chicago. We real fast, right? We move real fast. I've been here 20 years. My homeboys come down here, they're like, dude, you drive slow, you talk slow. I said, I am not in a hurry. For life, period. If it's an emergency, call 911, then call me. Right? Right? Just chill. So it's a practice to do that, right? But this is where all your guidance is. And your job is to trust it. And your job is to get reacquainted with it. It's a different level affair with who you are. It's a different level of intimacy. If you're struggling with intimacy in your relationships, that's because you're struggling with it with too much. Into yourself, right? I go back to it. Yeah, I want to make sure I get the question.
And you mentioned front loading. It's something that you helped me with. It's like a lot of people, some of you may know, it's like my mom passed about almost 10 years ago, right? And around Mother's Day, when Mother's Day is coming up, or like August or April, when our birthday, like it gets real interesting for me, right? Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, right? I won't say interesting because we talked about sharing the emotion. So I get sad around these times, right? But I was so used to like compressing it. Like I've never really even acknowledged it as that. I just kind of like shut down. And my wife would see it, but she didn't even really know how to deal with it in that moment. Because you don't really know what to say, right? So Dr. Curt, I'm gonna call you Pastor Curt. So Dr. Curt was like, as a strategy, because he could relate, we had a similar situation, like front load the grief and like get in front of it. Like grief is okay, front load it and don't like compress it, basically. Like be with it. So that was super helpful for me as well. Let's do some questions. Want to do some questions? Yeah. Let's do some questions. What's up, Mike?
So what's your perspective on the use of anger as a tool, like a control hold anger? Because what I've found is that anger is one of my most productive emotions, right? I hit this state where I go, fuck that, I'm not willing to tolerate this anymore. Now I'm gonna fix this. And then I propel to action. So I just wanted to catch another perspective on that and hear your side of it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, yes, I've heard of that before. People use anger to kind of throw themselves into go. It's a short-term strategy that you gotta keep using over and over. But on a grand scale, it's not, in my opinion, as helpful as you may think, right? Because again, if you use it to prepare yourself without identifying the underlying emotions, right? It's cool to get to anger, but what's there first? Like, are you pissed? Are you disappointed? Disappointed means that the expectation wasn't met. That's it, right? Is there some guilt? Is there some shame? It's helpful to get intimate with what is the underlying, most of us, including me, are emotionally illiterate. It ain't been taught nowhere, right? So it's sort of like, if it kicks you in the gear, yes, but I offer you to be, it's okay to coach yourself with some harsh, firm talk. I do that too, right? But I don't do it at the expense of, or more than I show compassion to myself, right? I haven't been called enough in my upbringing, right? The one person I can count on to being kind to me is myself. And it's very easy because I was blessed with a Black mama who talked well to me. The world didn't, but my mother did, right? And so it actually got me to do more by soothing myself. Now there's time I'm like, dude, step the game up. You bullshit, knock the shit off. Like, come on, right? But that's just, you know, that's quick. It doesn't last long, right? Because I don't give myself a chance to say, I don't feel like seeing no clients today because I just realized one of my grief stages have been tapped. And I ain't got the space to serve y'all today. So I'm gonna ride my bike. Right? I'm gonna be kind to myself. I'm gonna teach you how to treat me. And I can show you better than I can tell you, right? That's how I see it. Yes, ma'am.
How you doing?
I'm well. How you doing?
Nice to see you.
Absolutely.
So you talked about numbing. And over the past, I would say like the past like 2 weeks, I have been dealing with like, I don't want to do nothing, but I do it. So I push through and I do it, but it takes me a while. And I wonder if that is a source of the numbing. So like, you know, I'm doing this, the more I'll wake up and do a morning ritual and everything. And then I'm just like, I'm just not feeling this right now. So I'll go back to sleep and then I get back up. And so I'll do the motions, but I also wonder if even sometimes just doing those motions, if it's affecting my business as well. So can you explain to me, like what does numbing look like? What are the actionable, things that people do when they're numbing?
Great question. People do a lot of different things to numb, right? They do a lot of things. Most of them are un and subconscious, right? But the whole point of numbing is an attempt to either feel better or to keep from feeling worse. That's the point of numbing. The challenge is sort of where the anger talk is, it doesn't do it. So you find yourself having to do it more times than not, and you find yourself in some challenge when you think about external substances that you may use to numb, correct? So again, you gotta check on what's the underlying, peel back the layers, right? So I don't feel like doing nothing means what, right? I don't feel like working, so you gotta eat dinner. Like, come in, I ain't working today. But I do feel like listening to some music, right? I don't feel like going to the gym today, but I do feel like going to get a black bean burger. See, I've been in the bed for months at a time, right? I spent 5 years in depression. That story I told you, that was wiped out. Zero. You sure about not making no financial goals? Go years with no income. Then the fear ain't there no more, right? Supposed to add, pay for the ad. What you got to lose? You've been asked that, right? There's only one way to go. Numbing, we do it in a lot of different ways. Some of us pick fights to numb. You in a relationship, they feeling flooded, fight. Some of y'all married to them, dating them, sleeping with them, what y'all looking at me for? Right? We know, some people do, right? So it's important to say, what is it that you feel like doing, right? When you say nothing, what does that mean? I want to sleep longer? That's something, right? Choose the one that feels better. I say 2 rules, my Quill notice. Put you first, cause no harm. Put you first, cause no harm. So you feel like it, go use the bathroom, drink some water. You'd be surprised of what going to sit on the toilet for no reason, drink some water and breathe it will get you back in the game. So if you get that feeling, you add that narrative, that feeling that says, oh, you want me to emote? You want me to be your friend today? Cool. Tell me that good story you've been repeating for years again, and I hang right around with you, right? See, your voice is for us, not you. You gotta use a different voice for you. Your self-talk gotta be different. You gotta be kinder. You gotta be compassionate. At your worst moment, you gotta be your own advocate. You have to be your own advocate, period. That's nobody's work for you. Nobody's work for you, right? And if you practice that, you get that down, you'll let everybody who's close to you off the hook. People won't have to work so hard to deal with your ass. When you're your own advocate. Trust that. That includes your clients.
Hold on one second. Did I answer your question? So let me ask, so can I ask a question? Can I go deeper?
Yeah.
Because when you asked the question, I'm not sure if you did it this purposely, you asked it, you kind of asked it in a broad sense.
Yeah.
You didn't really ask like
Specific.
how, like what's going on with me in some type of way.
Yeah.
So so the answer was like more in a broad sense. So what's a better question or a better way to frame it, like was more, because it sounds like so ask like a personal question.
Okay, so I know I'm in a space where it's really time for me to go to the next level. So like Dre still got me emotional right now, only because I'm so tired of coming here to every event, knowing what I need to do. And it's like we laugh about it. You know, we laugh about the stuff that we don't do. Oh, you know, I ain't good at that, but that's not an excuse. Oh, you know, I could be better at, you know, doing this. And so now I get into my head where I'm always questioning, well, why am I not doing this? And honestly, over the past, business has been good because I'm still kind of doing certain things, but I know I deserve for my business to be like amazing, right? So when I wake up in the morning now, I'll do my morning stuff that I need to do, but I still don't feel good about myself. I don't feel good about doing the work. So now I make up excuses. I don't want to do no sales calls no more because those draining me. But I mean, next week when I look at my calendar, I literally have sales calls every single day, minimum 5 a day, all next week. And so I'm just dreading that. And then I'm dreading, and so then I won't wake up. I'll get up and I go back to sleep. And so I'm wondering what is causing me to feel this way? I'm on the brink of about to break a 7-figure business, but I'm immediately sabotaging myself with these thoughts. And even if I even sabotage my thoughts with like people liking me or approving of me, even though I know that I'm like, you know, doing my thing. I won't talk to people. I'll become a recluse. That might even be not like that's why I'm feeling like maybe I should move back here because at least I'm closer to friends and family where I can be around someone. So I just want to know, like, if all this stuff that I am doing, I paid to get a therapist and didn't get on the call because I was afraid, like, I don't even, like, what am I supposed to do with her? I don't even know if that's gonna work. So, you know, I'm just trying to figure this out because I'm sick of coming here every time, knowing what I need to do. And it's not this, I told Marco yesterday, well, I'm doing a little bit, that's not good enough.
Right.
A little bit.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know. Is that more specific?
Yeah, I get it. Very common. Believe it or not, very common. It's called healing. It's called healing, right? Most of us know that if we hit these goals, then what? Right? See, if you struggling, lonely, feel that you are disconnected now, what's gonna happen when you get 10 mil in the bank? Right? Money makes you more of what you are. So if you're struggling now, if you sad now, we're afraid of that. I'm afraid. And fear always has sadness underneath. Sad. So one of the days I ask people, like, what happened? Who broke your heart? Right? Then I tell you, just so you know, your heart can't be broken. It can be cracked. It can't break you. Your heart is the strongest part of you. They can break your mind. They can crack your heart. It'll heal when you start paying attention to it, right? You'll do all type of stuff. Not hit your goals. You'll do all type of stuff. That's your way of staying safe. You mean well. You just want to stay safe. Because what happens when I get the goal? Who I'm gonna share with? What I'm gonna do? Do I buy more stuff? Right? Do I go more places? What I do? But the work is here, right? See, when you do this healing work, I promise you, you won't have to work as hard as you work. You spend a lot of energy trying to stay safe, keeping from feeling bad, numbing out. Most people are emotionally out of shape, unfit, right? There's an emotional fit. I ain't even talking about physical fitness, right? We all can work on that. But emotionally exhausted, we do so much numbing and hijacking, and we got a few 10, 20%. You're trying to run a multi-7-figure business on 22% of emotional energy. Calling me. I'm gonna take your money. I'm gonna help you work on this small. We're gonna identify it as being here. That is hijacking all this. Me and you gonna work on this. You're gonna go live your life on that end, right? We're gonna work on what's keeping that from happening. I guarantee you it's some form of grief. Most of us fall into trauma, grief, guilt, and shame. Right? Some of us are ashamed of being well. Some of us are guilty, right? And guilt and shame ain't the same thing. Right? I see some of y'all looking, right? Guilt is I feel bad about the thing. Shame is I feel bad about me. They're different. That's a whole different heaviness, right? Right? We can work on guilt. Shame, you got to come from the valley, right? You got to heal through connection. That's intense work. Then you'll have emotional expenditures to go and knock those goals off, right? Your mind will exhaust you. Your feelings will exhaust you. I don't care how many conferences you come to. I don't care how much money you spend. Real leaders got a coach and a therapist. Real leaders got a coach and a therapist, right? Coach, here. Therapist, here. Pass y'all to your coach.
Did that help?
I still don't know what numbing is.
Numbing is
So give me
anything
some-
you
give
do
me
to feel
some-
better. Anything you do to feel better. We know how we numb. Sex, alcohol, drugs, working hard, up all night, buying shit, traveling, Facebook. We know numbing. The question is, it ain't that you do it. It's why you doing it. Right? That's the numbing part. We all want to feel better. No exceptions to that, right? But you don't have to numb to feel better. That's the thing. You don't have to numb to feel. There are things you can do to feel better. I give you one example. Do nothing. Sit there and breathe until you gradually feel yourself getting. Your natural state is joy. Dre told you who you was. That's your natural state. You just forgot it. It ain't happiness, it's joy. That's different. Your natural state is joy. And it will rise if you stop doing the things you do to keep it from rising. And only you know that. So when I went through my 5-year depression, I drank no alcohol. Because I done saw what alcoholics do. I said, shit, I'm toughing this out. Shit, I eat the shit. I ain't coming out of this a drunk with no whole different habits. I got shit to do. I need to be present in how to heal this because, as Dre told you, I got folks to share with, right? You don't do what you say, you do what you do. They ain't listening to you, they watching you. They watching you. So we all numb. Now, numbing has its place. Numbing has its place. Don't get stuck there. But don't get stuck anywhere. Your job is to manage your reactions to your emotions. Most people trying to manage their emotions. They coming. That's not your job. Your job is to manage your reactions to your emotions. That's different. You managing them, you putting up all this fight, all that energy, and then talking about you about to do some calls. You don't have it. Boom, you don't have it. You gave up all your energy weeks before. You just ain't rested. All right, so you gotta know, because at least you can wrap your mind around why you ain't doing what you're doing. Right? I'm going out tonight. That's measurable. I can kind of get that wrapped in my mind. Right? We need to talk about the sadness up under here, the grief, the trauma. You may be triggered in the grief. I was triggered with my mother's grief the other day. Right? I really do really well with this. But as Marquel told me, we front load the grief. Right? We don't get to grieve because all Black folks grieve. I don't have to acknowledge my mother on Mother's Day if I don't want to. Everybody got Mother's Day on Mother's Day. I got one day. That's my mother's birthday. Not her death day, her birthday. Right? After my mother passed, she had a twin brother. Quick story though. I got to point to this. Stay with me. My mother passed 11 years ago, right? She had a twin brother. He recently passed. And a family friend had posted a kindergarten picture of my mother and her brother, the twins, kindergarten. My mother was sitting on the first row, 5 years old, right? My mother was born cross-eyed. She got her eyes fixed by the time I showed up, right? My mother was sitting on the first row, right? My mother was born in 1946, so this had to be somewhere like 51, 52. On the first row, 5 years old. 5 years old. I saw the picture, and instead of being triggered and grieved, I said, let me think about this. Man, that's Betty's Jasper sitting on the first row. She had to be about 5 or 6. Damn. I came 20 years later. You ever looked at your parents in kindergarten and know that you showed up 20 years later? I went from kindergarten on. That's how I grieve. I'm like, shit, I was there right. 20 years, you follow me? My mother was a big Whitney Houston fan. I rock out to Whitney Houston as part of my professionalism. Every week, Bodyguard soundtrack, are you kidding me? That's my mama's song. So grief don't blindside me. I welcome it in. Come on, it's your turn. We do it anyway, drinking, sex, going to y'all invite shit in all the time. Invite it in. Get to know it. It won't blindside you. Right? So every few weeks, I rock out to Whitney Houston. That's my way of saying, yeah, Mom, I got you. We together. My mother's favorite color was yellow. She was buried in yellow. Look, if y'all had on yellow today, I wouldn't even be able to do. Look, I could see a woman across the street. I'm like, sister, love that yellow, right? I said, acknowledging to my mother, I'm front loading the grief. I ain't triggered because she got, I'm celebrating because she has. That's different. Y'all grieving? Come on, man. I ain't saying nothing wrong with it, but know where you are, because you may be grieving. Talking about it's time to do a sales call. How? You ain't in shape emotionally. You mean well. You're healing this new connection. Get it going. Invest your money and your time in the areas that you know you really need to.
Wes, I saw your hand up, bro.
Yeah, I got a question.
She has a mic.
Oh,
Oh, my bad. Go ahead. No, you got the mic. Go ahead. Then we'll do Wes next.
Okay, so, the one thing that I've been doing some counseling myself, and one of the things that I've noticed is, from a young age, I just took a lot of things that I never dealt with things. I just buried them all my life. And so now it's coming out in pain. So I have fibromyalgia and I have pain like every day of my life. And try to get through that. I'm doing a lot of stuff, working on it. But a lot of times it still triggers and it comes up. So I'm working on trying to release some of that stuff that I have buried and tried to be present and deal with what I'm dealing with now. A lot of that stuff is still there. So I'm just not quite sure what to do with that. How do you work past that to be able to release it so it doesn't continue to manifest every day.
Right. For starters, I'd offer you to change your language. Right? You don't have nothing, and they don't have you. Now, you may exhibit some symptoms from time to time, right? But if you speak how well you are and how your body is naturally healing, you don't have to claim nothing that a white coat professional has gathered some symptoms and convinced you that you have something. Woo!
Talk that shit. Talk that shit.
How?
Talk that shit.
Body heals itself when we stop doing the things we do to impede that. We all got some stuff in there. You gotta let it out, right? But you got some stuff that you ain't celebrated in there, right? See, most people are struggling with whether they're gonna be exposure is a good thing. Because part of being exposed is you get to expose the good parts. You can't pick and choose. You struggling not exposing the bad parts. We ain't getting but 20% of your good parts. Talking about you coming to another 7-figure society problem. Really? Really? You're struggling being president here, right? So you just gotta perform. This ain't no performance. To keep you attentive. Right for it. It's a turn. Get your own attention, right? Get your own attention. How do you do it? For you, be conscious of how you speak to yourself. Now, I know if you use words like medical terms, I can imagine how your self-talk is. But you get to work on that. You get to work on that, all right? You get to work on that. So if it's in there, it's in there for one reason. It was a previous lived experience. It became part of your emotional history. You get to let it out, right? But I guarantee you, you got to let the good stuff out too, right? You got to let the good stuff. So one of the things I ask everybody is, who broke your heart? All of us have been heartbroken. That is no exceptions, right? I ain't talking about no significant other, although that may be it, right? My father broke my heart. You think these black boys out here killing because some girl broke their heart? Who broke your heart? Start there. Start there. Not your recent heartbreaks, right? You set that up. I'm talking about the first one. Oh, y'all ain't hear that. They ain't hear that one, huh? They ain't hear that one, right? Not the recent ones, not college, not relationship, not the marriage, not the job, not the 6 figures, the original one.
Yeah.
And then get back there and get reacquainted with it. It's waiting for you. You will get exposed. There's gaps in your personal development. There's gaps. You don't have to grow all over. Fill in the gaps. Fill in the gap. Let it out. Invite it in. As you said, when I'm feeling bad, come on, bro, how long we need? I really be like that. Shit, I don't feel like shit. How much longer we got? I literally be like, 11 o'clock, dude, you gotta pass. I got shit to do. Right? It's 8. I'm gonna lay here for a minute. I'm gonna get some coffee. I ain't gonna do too much. See, I do nothing when I ain't feeling well. Nothing. I'm not at my best. I can't give y'all what I ain't got. Then I got to really be an imposter. Right? I got to be who I know I'm not. No, I gotta reschedule. I know we had to call that for it. That's a huge personal favor. Can we smooth it to 5 or 7? Right? Or whatever, right? Take care of yourself, right? You first, cause no harm, right? You put her first because you made a commitment at the expense of yours. Now you have caused harm, but guess how many people?
Many.
A minimum of 2, right?
I said many.
A minimum, you and them, right? You and them. So the first thing I offer people to do is be kinder to yourself. Practice it. Some of us real mean to ourselves. We're nicer to other people than we are ourselves. I hear different. I don't see well, but I hear real well. Right? Be kinder to yourself and watch how your language, watch how your life changes for that. Watch how you start to heal, right? I know what this means. My thigh hurt. I miss my babies. I know what this means. Well, I'm taking on too much. I need to rest. I know what the pains mean. I speak to them. Come on in. How much time y'all need? The babies? Cool. Did I pay child support? Everybody good, right? Right? I'm that way with me. I'm in healing mode. The journey to recovery. The journey to recovery. The journey to recovery. I'm not afraid of it. Oh, the doctor said I got this. No, I know what this is. Stress and anxiety, you can't too much. What you need to delegate, get that comfortable, right? Pimple, oh, I know what that is, dehydration, whatever month, right? Y'all gotta know yourself that well, right? You gotta know yourself because that is how you put guess who first. You first. You can't buy your way. You can't accumulate your way out of this. You can't do it. You can't accumulate your way out of emotional intelligence. There is no amount of money you can pay for this.
I know it's between me and Greg, so I'm gonna be quick. So this is not something that I'm challenged with, but this is something that I think about a lot. So Wes, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, was kind of like real cut and dry. Everyone I meet new is in good faith and they're good until they've proven otherwise. What I've been learning as I got older, say in the last decade, the more books I read, the more people I'm around, the more cultures I visit, I am, yes, the euphemism would be more forgiving. I'm more, what would have been fuck it 5 years ago, is like, look, why did they do it? And I'm like, am I turning soft or is this a good? Is this something good? Like, that's what happens when you're 40? Or am I a fall from grace? Like the old Western cut, like, I want to be sure, like, is this natural? By the more you read about emotional intelligence, the more you're forgiving, like, don't cut her head off, like say, why is he or she doing this? Is that normal?
It is. It's emotional maturity, right? It's emotional maturity. You'll find that there is no return on investment by holding grudges. Y'all still trying to get 7 figures holding grudges. It costs you too much. See, I know y'all talk about keeping track, right? One of the mentees told me y'all talk about keeping track, right? Most of y'all think y'all keeping track, but you keeping score. That's different. We know when you keep score, always got to be a win and a lose. So your point is, I cried more from 40. I'm 50. I cried more from 40 to 50 than I did my first 40 years. I'm just really in touch. Movies, period, whatever, right? And I let it in. Come on in, bro. We know what this is. It cleanses me. As you said, when people do what they do, it's because how they feel at that moment in time. Showing grace and forgiveness is the gift you give to yourself, right? It's a moment in time. So you get to do that. Yeah, you get lighter. You conserve more energy. I wouldn't spend too much time on why they do it. I would go general, with the exception of somebody connected to you that's close. I would go general and people respond. All of us do, all that we do for some underlying emotion or feeling. No exceptions to that. Some of it has been conditioned, right? So when people act a certain way, you show them grace, which is ultimately showing you grace by saying, all right, let me move differently and get out of their way, right? Now, every now and again, you gotta, as the young lady said, express what's bottled up in you. But there's other ways to do that. You don't have to bless them out. Get your ass to the gym.
But is it okay to bless them out once in a while?
It depends on what it means. It depends on what it means to you. It depends on what it means to you, right? It depends on what it means. See, blessing somebody else costs you time.
So what I've learned, and this is the last one,
Sure.
is that I've tried that, like, hey, or like even what you told me, like, don't think that everyone is a black belt. You might be an emotional, intelligent black belt. Everyone's not there yet, so accept them when they are. And even Malcolm was like, yo, what you know now, 5 years ago, you didn't know, so give people grace. So I'm there, but sometimes what I've learned, like some knuckleheads, they understand motherfucker better. Like sometimes you gotta, and they, like, like Lauren Hill said, like I add a motherfucker, so ignorant motherfucker hears me. So I've learned that when I do bottle it out sometimes, that okay, this is the as toxic as this shit is, this is the language you understand. So okay, as much as that took so much away from me to lower myself to go there, but this is the now we're good. All of a sudden, it's
But you're not,
Yes.
but you're not.
Yes.
So let me tell you what I heard. I heard you say tribe. I heard you say that some people are there and you're here. The mere fact that you use the word tribe means that you, where they are, close than what you may realize, with all due respect, sir. Because there is no tribe, everything's a practice. And sometimes you don't hit the jump shot when they pass you the ball. You just don't. So there is no tribe, there is a practice. And practice means you have to show up and do the thing. Practice. Practice, right? Everything's a practice. Your healing journey is a practice. You keeping track of your finances is a practice. You learn what you learn through practice. How to walk, your times table, how to play checkers, how to braid your hair. You ain't learned nothing without practice. What did they change? What y'all got degrees? I got a few of them. I'm still paying for them. They don't mean much. I don't use them. I don't use them. I be with people. So you can't use the degrees and be with people in the same space. That's different. It's different. Different vibration.
So we got 10 minutes and want to be respectful of the time. So we'll do 2 more. So we'll do Angie and then Kidway.
And I'm gonna get you outside.
No,
I ain't going nowhere. I'm here all day.
Glad you said that. So let me be clear, y'all. So we're gonna break in 10 minutes and we're gonna break where we're gonna eat. What we're not gonna do is like bomb rush Dr. Curt. Let's not do that. Let's let the man enjoy lunch. Let's kick it. Let's chop it up. That type of thing. We're gonna talk about how you can actually acquire and get his services. So we'll do that. But what we're not gonna do is like turn the lunch into like a working lunch. We're gonna let the man decompress. He's pouring out a lot for 90 minutes straight. So we're gonna be respectful. So let's not corner him doing lunch. I was gonna say that, glad you said it now, so I can just be clear and put that out there. So let's just be respectful.
I'm not gonna corner him.
I didn't say you was gonna corner. I didn't say that. I wasn't talking to you directly. I'm talking to the room as a whole.
And also, I don't want nobody coming to me and trying to give me advice.
Yeah, nobody. Let's not do that. That's not what this is.
Don't do it.
Y'all understand? That's not what this is, y'all. If you want
I
this.
don't think you gotta worry about that in this room. I think everybody here got to work on their own
So
self.
like, if this is like a thing, if this is like a thing you know you want to explore deeper, like we're gonna talk about how the next step of what to do. But let's not do that. So I just want to put that out there because I already know if I don't say it, I know it's gonna happen. Because it's exhausting when you're up here pouring out and then doing your break decompression time. Anybody who speaks, you know this. People like surround you, it's just not, you know what I'm saying? Anybody who do this type of stuff, know it. Go ahead, Ashley.
So,
But that means we can, they can still talk to me though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You can still talk to them. You can still talk to them, but let's not turn into like a third.
I'm saying going shit like,
You cut it out. Cut it out. Y'all know what I mean, right? Y'all know what I mean. You know what I mean, right? But you, I don't want to be by yourself and be like, hey, look. Right. All right, go ahead.
I just kind of wanted to touch base kind of on what Wes had said, because for me, like I have evolved a lot emotionally as far as being, you know, more emotionally mature, because I was that person in the past who was, you know, not even just quick to cuss, but just quick to slap a bitch. Like that was me, like for real. And that's why, you know, the whole, you know, being more feminine, that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I did operate in a lot of masculine energy. So just based on what Wes was saying, something that that I was dealing with. And I mean, you know, of course, everything is still a process, right? But something that I was dealing with just, I would say like within the past like year or so, like, okay, well, talking to myself, you know, because I do that a lot. Like, damn, like ever since you kind of became a little emotionally mature, it's like bitches trying to slick sun you now, and it's like, what you gonna do about that? Right? Like, you know, I was kind of feeling like people was, you know, taking my kindness for weakness, because they may have known how I used to be or may not even know how I used to be, but I was kind of taking that as a shot, like, man, like, I let this slide, like, you know, saying it to myself, like you said, kind of keeping the score, but I wasn't saying nothing to the person, right? Like, dang, like, because I evaluate everything, but what I do know is that I can't address it in the way that I used to. And I also shouldn't bottle it in, because what happens with me is it ends up building up, right? So let's just say something happened between, you know, like my mom, right? It's my mom, I love her, right? Take a bullet for her, but you know, I may I'll let this slide. Then when something happens, it's like, you know what, how come? And it's like, oh, where'd that come from? Because I built it up, because I suppressed it, like, you know what I mean? And I know that it's like, it's a gift and a curse. It's good that I don't react as harsh as I did before, right off the bat. However, I'm still dealing with just addressing it right then, but addressing it in a more, you know, calm manner. You follow what I'm saying?
I do. So here's what shows up to me as oftentimes we still operate in reactive mode.
Yeah.
Right? Your job is to come back over to responsive mode. You gotta become responsible, right? That's different, right? So if it's still in you, that's because it's been in you. And you still attracting people, that's because it's still in you, right? Even with your best efforts, you're still vibrating on that. There's some residual vibration, right? Because when you really put you first, cause no harm, serving you, front loading you, doing all your personal, emotional wellness, people vibrate all the way in or all the way out. And if it's loved ones, you'll find yourself doing stuff like I have been practicing the last 10 years, saying, okay. Okay. And, you know, I used to like a good fight. I thought that was a skill set. See, some of y'all thought thought that was honorable. I'm from this place. Really? Really? I guarantee you done lost more than you gained, by the way. You just took it on in the way that you had to say it served you, but it doesn't. But here's the emotional part. It wipes you out, whether you believe that or not. The more, if you was to really keep track, I ain't talking about your finances, your emotional up and down. If you track that and saw what came to you, you'll be amazed, right? You have an argument this week, next week you got a sinus infection. You think it's hay fever. You weakened your immune system. Right? You like a good fight. That's what you do. It set your ass down for 2 weeks. You just still going through the motions. Coming to Client Attraction University, talking about, I'm gonna take some notes. Good thing is you get the rest in here. Right? Ain't no arguing in here. But most of us really, it sets you down. If you kept track of all the dips and dabs, people coming for you that, no one comes for me. I'm not available. No one comes for me. The people who have a propensity to come for me, you know how long they've been cut off? I got siblings and family that's been cut off for more than 5 years. I'm my own advocate. Me first, cause no harm. That means me first, they don't cause me harm. They don't have me going in the way that I was in survival mode. I'm really doing well for myself now. No one gets to turn that back for me. I buried both my parents. Y'all ain't got a chance. You just don't, right? That includes family. But I find myself saying, oh, okay. I find myself I don't pick up a call. I'll show you my phone now. I got very minimal calls. Why? Because I don't pick up. People don't call, people don't pick up. Period. Because I'm clear that my phone is for my convenience and not the callers. That's why you got your own phone. Now, we meet somewhere and I pick up based on your call. That's a match made. But I don't pick up because you called. I protect all this. So I ain't got to be reset saying I'm trying and I like it and it's in there. I'm in the gym. I ain't trying to get muscles and get sexy. I'm trying to live a well-life, balanced life where I put me first and cause no harm. Either way.
I almost forgot my question.
My bad about went everywhere.
No, you did. That was all bars. one of the things that I know that I think about a lot is all the things that, I'm not able to provide or give back. Like we put ourselves through rigorous, work, whether it be for our business or just for our own health or whatever. And you're not really able to give some of that to people. You can't make people do self-development. You can't make people do the work on themselves. And I often feel guilty about that. I often feel isolated because I'm willing to risk things in order to put myself in a space where I feel like I can grow, whether it's coming to a mastermind or getting a part of a 3-day experience, or it constantly separates you. And even though you feel like you can calculate the risk and you understand that intellectually, I'm doing this for a purpose, but you also emotionally are watching other people not doing well or being stuck in cyclical behavior. And somehow I struggle with trying to get well enough to also benefit them. And it just doesn't seem to, it only makes me more lonely or more isolated because I feel like it's just like the reverse happens. And I don't know how to stop feeling drained by wanting to help other people so much. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely, it does. So wanting and willing are different, right? It's different, right? There was an earlier place back in the 90s when I wanted to liberate everybody and all this personal design, let's get rich together and all that old stuff, right? Here's a short version. It'll pass. Now your guilt is something different, right? Your guilt is something different. We could delve into what that actually means for you, but wanting something for someone else ain't your work. It's just not. It's just not. So you trying to give what you ain't fully possessed, right? Trying to get in your own personal heaven. Don't give your life away. Share your life. Get there, and the ones that are ready will meet you there. We all on different journeys, right? People, when you raise whatever it is you raise, your vibration, your emotional wellness, your mentality, people will sort themselves. I'm not available. I'm just not. I'm just not. You wanna rock with me? Meet me at the gym. Meet me on the trail, right? Shit, take me to dinner. I'm not pouring into you, like, right? I recognize that everybody's where they are. I was once there. People came to me like, okay, this is what you need to be doing. I was like, what you ain't on that, right? We always there. So now we get to a place we want everybody to come. Not so much, yeah? Don't tell them, show them. Some of them are moving right before your eyes that don't recognize, right? They ain't got to do what you say, right? That don't mean they ain't taking notes, right? There are people come back to you and like, you know what? I knew my folks would have gave me help, but I've been watching you. I'm ready. I know it's been 5 years, I'm ready. I've been watching you, right? So you're making more of an impact, but it ain't the ones you're trying to force feed. That wasting your time. Share your life. Show them how it's done, right? Stay open, invite them in, but you trying to force feed them, getting in your personal happiness, a lot of wasted energy and time. Most of you all are going on fumes emotionally, drained by your heart is good, but you're trying to feel for somebody else. I need you to master how you feel. You're trying to feel all warm and fuzzy for them. We ain't got there yet. We ain't got there yet. We ain't got there yet. I mean, the house burned down, let them stay with you. I ain't saying throw them away to the wolves, but master you first. I guarantee you, people will show up and you have no idea. Like now. Right? That's how it works, right? That's how it works. Yeah, you don't gotta worry about the people you know soon enough. You attract based on who you evolving to be. You ain't even met them yet. It's 8 billion people. They only can get it from you, but not the ones you think. The ones who really can get it from you your way out of the 8 billion people on this globe will raise their hand when they ready. By you doing certain things. Now, there's certain things you got to do to get in front of them, but it ain't being drained by the people you trying to kumbaya and get over this threshold. Get rich and give them some money. If that's the case, right? Pay them off to go away. Look, hit 10 grand. Give me 6 months, bro. No contact. Whatever you gotta do, I'm being facetious, but you get my point. Save you. You first, cause no harm. You first, cause no harm. One more?
Now we
We
got
good?
logo work us up out.
Okay.
Two quick things. If somebody wants to engage, what do they need to do?
Comment.
We gonna pick up.
Great question. Great question. So my message will tell you to text or leave a voicemail. I probably won't pick up, right? Now I got clients who on call. They done already paid their money. Right? We'll talk about that later.
What's the number?
770-885-2009. I'm on social media. It won't be hard to find me.
What's the first name?
Kurt. You put me in
Curtis
Google. Yeah, you'll find it. That whatever number come in the Google world comes to this phone. I ain't gonna answer, but I will get back to you. I promise you that. But I gotta get back to you when I'm able to be present with you. And if I pick up your car when I'm driving, why? To impress you that I serve clients with high superior customer service? Really? Really?
Kurt.
Last name.
Yeah.
So my government name is Curtis Dominic Jasper. My mother called me Curt. I don't know why. My mother has never called me Curtis, bless her soul. So I rock with Curt as a tribute to my mama. She call me Curt. I am Dr. Curt on IG. I'm all about it. Look, I honor everybody teaching the outside stuff. My job is to help you shine light on some of your blind spots on the inside. I'm an inside person. I'm gonna meet you on the inside. I trust you're gonna get rich. I just want you to be safe as you're doing it.
Question, two things. Has this been, what's his value?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing this out there. You know, we'll talk more. What? You probably already know what I'm gonna say. You be in tune. Just throwing this out there. Would it be of value to you all if we layered some of like Dr. Curt into the Seven Figure Society?
Oh, yeah.
I gotta check my schedule.
Yeah.
Of course I would.
Okay, for sure. So we're gonna talk about logistics, but
I will
would that
be
be of
honest.
value if we kind of added Dr. Curt to the program?
I'll pay more.
Gotta be mentally tight.
For sure.
I'll pay more.
Pay more? So if we added Dr. Curt to the program, who all pay more? Raise your hand high. Who would it? Who wouldn't pay more? Who wouldn't pay more? If we added Dr. Curt to the program, who would pay more? Raise your hand. It should be more anyway.
If you ask me, I'ma make more, so
Okay.
I can pay
Who
more.
wouldn't pay more? Okay, cool. Y'all missed it. Y'all totally missed this last 90 minutes, clearly. But that's fine. All right, cool. So this is what we're gonna do. Lo, tell them what's up for lunch.
So the lunches, they're gonna come set up in here, so I'm not sure who's in case